That brings to an end the broadcast media questions. I'm very happy to take some questions from the floor. If there, yes, I'll take the lady at the front here first of all, and there's a microphone just there.
First Minister Alison Watson, Shelter Scotland. On behalf of all of us at Shelter Scotland, a very happy New Year to you. Really welcome the emphasis in your speech on delivery and on hope. In particular, Shelter Scotland, as you know, really warmly welcomes that reversal of last year's savage cut to the housing budget. You're hoping that this budget marks a turning point, and we indeed hope that that reversal of the housing cut is a step change in the way that the government is tackling Scotland's housing emergency. I wholeheartedly support making child poverty and tackling child poverty a top priority. And with that in mind, would you agree that the housing budget really needs to target the record-breaking 10,110 children who are currently stuck in temporary accommodation without a permanent home? And to do that, that reversal in the housing budget, we think, needs to prioritise social housing, because all the data suggests that that's where those children need to move on to. And I'd really welcome your comments on that.
Well, first of all, Happy New Year, Alison, and thank you for your comments, because I do welcome the comments you've made about the strength of the budget. But the budget is a headline number, £768 million on housing. The question you pose gets into, well, what's going to be done within that £768 million? And I think it's a really strong, it's a very important question. And I am very sympathetic to the focus being on addressing the temporary accommodation issue. So if I give you one example, one of the pivots in housing policy that's been made since I came into office as First Minister is the government has become much more actively engaged in tackling the issue of void accommodation. Previously, that was an issue that we tended to leave very much to local authority decision-making. But what we are trying to do is to put more of our energy into working with local authorities and other organisations to tackle the issue of voids, so that we can utilise some of those resources to make accommodation available to tackle exactly the temporary accommodation challenge that you have set out. So I think we've got to have a very open discussion. Shirley-Ann Somerville, the Cabinet Secretary, Paul McLennan, the Housing Minister, are both here today, and I'm sure it's something that can be pursued afterwards. But I'm very keen to make sure that we maximise the effectiveness of that £768 million budget to tackle exactly the issue that you are talking about. So there will be some actions we can take about voids, there are other actions we could take about acquisitions, there's other actions that we can take about new build. But you know, to be quite blunt about it, a new build takes longer than solving a void in most cases. So therefore, if we want to address the temporary accommodation issue, then perhaps we need to rebalance the way in which we're undertaking that investment to reach that objective. So there'll be willing ears within government to try to do that. But again, I come back to my core point. If this settlement is welcome, we've got to make sure it passes Parliament so we can get on with the decisions to, you know, I've got ministers who are now actively looking at how does that £768 million get deployed. I want them to be able to just take that to its natural conclusion with no interruption, such as a budget not managing to pass in late February. So I think your comment is a very helpful reminder of why this all matters. Thank you.